Urbanism isn't just about being a tree-loving environmentalist.
So go and hug a tree.
Urbanism isn't just having the convenience of walking and great transit. Urbanism isn't just about being politically engaged.
Do you know Joe Biden?
Urbanism isn't just about having adequate city housing. Urbanism can be one, few, or all of those. Are you confused yet? Through my nationwide relocation channel, Relocation with AD, I will provide the solutions. Now, I don't have an urban planning or an architect or a planning engineering consultancy degree. I think that exists. What I do have, ladies and gentlemen, is over 12 years experience of buying and selling real estate in one of the best urban settings, in my biased opinion, in the world, Chicago, Illinois. Marrying that with a nationwide network of agents ready to assist you, I am very confident as you watch my channel that you will absorb the content and make that perfect urban relocation decision. Cheers, folks. How'd you like that intro? Cheers. This isn't bourbon, FYI. How are you? It's Friday. It's happy hour, right? It's 6 o'clock local time here in Chicago. Why don't you can see right down there. Let me know where you're from. I'm gonna take a couple seconds here. Let me know where you're from. You could be worldwide. You could be on the East Coast, West Coast. I figure with all the craziness going on, decided to do the live stream on Friday and have this is just like this is a spiked iced tea. I don't know what it's called, Sun Crusher or something. Any of my folks have acid reflux? I know I'm TMI, but it has no bubbly. So I'm gonna take a sip. We are doing top 10. Let me flip over here to the comments. We are doing top 10 fastest growing metros in America. This is based on census, basically tabulating from 2010 to 2020, right? That was the latest census. The next one is in 2030. So first thing you're going to say, AD, well, that's not right. I have 2025. I understand that. This is dynamic. And many of these cities, while they're probably still in the top 10, they maybe moved down a couple, moved up a couple. I actually found one specifically, Raleigh, which I got this from Exploding Topics. They pulled again census data. They had Raleigh as number 2, and that was incorrect. The growth rate math calculation was incorrect. So actually, I just replaced it with its cousin. Charlotte. So Charlotte's going to take its place. Charlotte is going to come in here, which would have been number 11, but it's actually going to be number 10. And what we're going to talk about is unemployment. Of course, with the growth rate, it's assumed, and a very fair assumption, that there is great jobs, and therefore that unemployment rate is relatively low versus the rest of the nation. So I'll explain the actual growth rate, what that percentage is, the unemployment, and then we're going to go into a couple of neighborhoods. So I'm going to go on do a little map search. Let's explore together while we, again, have a drink. I hope you're having a drink. If you don't drink, no problem at all. I hope you're enjoying yourself on this Friday. So without further ado, I am going to, let's see. Let's grab. There we go. So this is, you can see this, Charlotte. So Charlotte, I'm going to remove this banner here. Again, while I'm talking here, please, if you're just joining, please let me know where you're from. I'd love to know where you good folks are from. Hopefully you're urban enthusiasts, and more hopefully you are considering a relocation. So let me know where you are from. So I'm taking it off here, 15% growth rate. Now, again, this is from 2010 delta, the delta between 2020 and 2010. You see they have an estimated 2023, that's just insane growth for Charlotte. Now Charlotte, not traditionally known for a really urbanist location. Matter of fact, I did a video, car addiction. If you go to my regular channel, so I'm gonna pop that on there really quick. You see right there, youtube.com/@relocation with AD. You can see all my past videos, and I did a video. It is pretty. The car dependency is really, really strong in that, in not only the city but the state. It's just a cultural thing. They're getting better. There's a light rail there. I'm going to talk about a couple neighborhoods, but yeah, this city, of course, that whole Carolina with the Research Triangle. I mentioned Raleigh Durham, but unfortunately, it did not make the list just because of the growth rate. But it's still a really, really powerful growing metro. So Charlotte and the entire state with biotech, um, the sciences, all those colleges, multitudes of universities. There's always going to be fresh talent available. Therefore, the unemployment rate, which now I'm using the labor and statistics from February data, 3.3 for Charlotte, a little bit higher in the metro, but in Charlotte, 3.3. So yeah, this is coming here, not 11, but number 10. Let's go and do, I'm going to go in, let's see, we're going to go into Uptown. It's the Uptown 4th Ward area. So let me, before I, okay, I'm going to remove, throw myself back on here. Okay. Let's share my screen. Okay, let me just check in here, check the comments. Okay. David. David is there. David, I figured, David, you'd be out. You'd be out on the town, huh? Thank you. Thank you for joining. So, all right. We are now, I'm sharing Uptown Charlotte. So you can see right here. Charlotte has a light rail, and there's been talk of expansion. But what we're finding here is, generally here in the climate, you have lobbyists, particularly car lobbyists, that are fighting against it. You have what are called NIMBYs, that, not in my backyard, that don't see the value of rail and how it could transport a large volume of people versus constantly relying on that car. So that's a fight, right? Out of our control. But for the here and now, this Uptown or 4th Ward got some great options here. Of course, you got a couple of hotels. Let's kind of zoom in here and just kind of take a look and see what's around here. I'm exploring with you. Down the road, I plan absolutely visiting a lot of these cities, urbanists and non-urbanists. But of course, for the here and now, we're going to explore together using good old Google. Oh, I like McAllister Deli. So they have a kind of a mix of historic low rises and a couple of high rise apartments. They have the proximity to, it's the Blue Line stop. So it's the CTC Arena station and the 7th Street station. The great thing, let's kind of go in here and see what we got over. Ooh, this is great. Of course, it opens right to cars, but look at here, nice and walkable. A couple of the high rises here. You've got residential. Let's kind of see what we can look in here. Hi, Sam. How are you? Okay, we got Sam and David here. I have to remember to keep going back here on the comments. Guys, thank you so much for joining. Okay, let me go back to, let me change this view here. There we go. Okay. Let's kind of go down here and see what we have. I really like this, the trees. A lot of people complain about trees, but you notice it is a very kind of um, barrier, I would say. Not a really true barrier, but a really good barrier from the pedestrian walking and the cars. It's one of those natural barriers. So we should always try to have more trees, obviously more concrete. Of course, goes everything against, urbanist doctrine, for lack of a better term. But of course, more concrete. What does that do with temperatures? Everything it gets hotter. So we want to have these more trees. This is really beautiful with all these trees here. Probably in the summertime, it's nice and cool, relatively cool. So you have to, like a lot of these cities, folks. A lot of people, they are going to the suburbs. That's just the fact. My next city, which is going to be Nashville, I got an article I'll show you. But that's just kind of the reality. Many people and many of these growing metros, people want to go to the suburbs. I get it. They want to have their big yard, big lot, big house. Some of them are McMansions. But there's just going to be a tipping point, right? We're going to have more people. And maybe there's probably a percentage of those people that want to stay in the city, want to have that density, but they just can't afford it, right? And so that's again, and I've mentioned this in previous lives, it's a whole other topic. We'll get to it about density housing, but it's nice. You got your creature comforts, you got some food spots. It's not bad at all. Yep. So hold on. David, are you related to Sam? You guys have the same last name. So, or maybe that's just a coincidence. I don't know. That's cool. If you guys are related, awesome. So, yeah, Charlotte, and I want to visit. I just heard a lot of with the car, and a lot of just crazy. The housing prices now, and a lot of these top markets, they've kind of settled down a little bit, right? Just naturally, because you just can't keep going up, and also the volatility of the of what's happening in the economy. So I'd be curious to see if those prices of people going to the burbs are settling a little bit. But yeah, so this is one uptown. The other one was south end. That one has what's called TOD. We have it here in Chicago. It's transit-oriented development, where transit-oriented development, they have a couple of them, which is good, right? Obviously, it's what the acronym says. There's more of a focus on transit. Let me remove that. Okay. Oh, David is actually okay. Nice. That's funny. This guy's got a good humor. I'm glad, because I said I'm gonna be a little slow. I'm getting there, folks. Pretty soon I'm gonna be as good as David here with the live streaming. But no, so TOD, transit-oriented development. The it's interesting. You would think with transit-oriented development they would be basically non-existent parking, but what ends up happening is there's typically, with a lot of these developments, there is some percentage of parking which just goes against, because the whole point is any building that's built, like in Chicago, for example, it is going to be literally close. In my old neighborhood, Wicker Park, they were like literally right next to the train stop, right? And of course, you're always fighting NIMBYs in that area. Again, it just boggles my mind, particularly if you're living in a dense urban area, why you'd want to fight that, but whatever. And of course, the buildings, because developers, they don't really care as much as aesthetics. It doesn't necessarily fit in the neighborhood. That's the kind of, from my experience of what's happening in Chicago. But at least Charlotte's thinking about that. Now, what that actual development is, I don't know yet. I'm going to have to do some additional research. But that is one way where you it's typically like a high rise. You get a lot more people in the area. You should really have zero parking. But as I've seen in my research, and a lot of these laws, city laws, are just archaic. They require, which just does not make any sense. They require some parking requirements, which then adds either like a garage or an underground, and it just adds to more of the traffic. Where you would assume if there is 50 units, 50 units, then everyone would be taking the train. Majority. That's why you're living there. So I'm thinking maybe I should do a transit-oriented development live stream down the road, but that's what that is. I'm glad they're at least going for that. I don't know what the parking, of course, requirements are in that particular Charlotte development, but at least they're trying. So that's Charlotte. What we're going to talk about next is Nashville. So I'm going to add in. Okay. Give me 1 second, folks. Present image. Okay. All right. So Nashville, 15.35. Now, again, right, this would be technically 9 in my top 10. Really, really explosive growth. There's more than music in Nashville. I found an article here. This is the article I wanted to talk about. So here's some of the numbers here. Again, we're talking the delta between 2020 and 2010. Again, we are talking about top 10 metros. If you let me know, please let me know if you're joining now. Let me know where you're from. We are going to remove that, and I'm going to share screen. Okay, let me make sure you guys get okay, full screen. So you see here, it's really interesting. Obviously, Nashville has a whole growth. And actually, I know of an old cold worker of mine. She and her family, they lived in the Naperville area, which is a suburb of Chicago. And they moved out and immediately built a big house, again, out in the suburbs. So you can see here where it grew, 4% from 2020 to 2023, led by the booming suburbs. And so there's some increases in the counties here, suburban explosion. So they're getting a lot of people that are leaving, and that's kind of just contributing to a lot of the growth. That's just the main percentage of the growth is the suburbs. So I found that interesting, and that's going to be really happening in just about every one of these cities. So does that mean that there's opportunity in the city core? Possibly. The problem is not necessarily cheap, because again, we do have the inventory shortage. It's happening where David lives out in Omaha. Just about in every pocket, it is in some of the major cities, and one you may probably already know of. I'll give you a hint. A lot of these cities are in Texas, and a lot of them had that strong pandemic push, and now post-pandemic coming out of it. While they're saying things are softening, you got to understand there were such high highs, right? You got to come down. So you got to understand it's relative. I've been really networking with a lot of realtors there, and a lot of it is clickbaity. They are seeing some softening, but it's not like major drops. Now let's see what happens with the rest of 2025. But that could be an opportunity for many of you. So we'll get to those cities. But I just found this interesting that a lot of that growth and explosion of growth is going to the burbs. Correct. Yes, David. Absolutely. So let me show you quickly. Okay. Stop sharing. Okay. Share screen. That's a good question, David. Obviously, I don't have that info at the moment. I do know, particularly in the Chicago area, a lot of people, there was a really big push Chicago to Texas, but now with Texas, the pricings were really expensive. A lot of people found Nashville and Tennessee as a whole as an attractive alternative. But I have to imagine folks also on the East Coasts. I just an educated guess, but I just want to be clear as a like an alternative to Florida, with Florida's pricing go up now. Of course, that is going the other way now in a lot of markets. I imagine a lot of people in that northeast heading over to Tennessee, but that's something, yeah, I can definitely look up. Okay, so this is the Glutch, really popular. I would consider this kind of similar to what's called the Gold Coast here in Chicago. Everyone has a neighborhood like this, very nice. There are homes here. So like, let's trying to go in. I may have to go in, go out. I can't get into Street View. I don't know why. Maybe because I'm sharing the screen. Okay. All right. So let's explore here. This is north of Nashville. I'm just trying to expand out here so you can see. There we go, Nashville. And right here is this Glutch. Another area is Germantown. You can see up here. We'll head there next. So very nice. Let's see. And if I go, you see we have downtown here and just this area. Second area I want to show you is, there we go. I don't know why it didn't pop up. So right away here in Germantown, which is kind of like northeast of downtown, look at this beautiful condos. Yeah, you do have a bike path, so beggars can't be choosers. But they seem to have a bike path. But you know what I was talking about with those trees? It's something that's very subtle. But having the trees here, it just provides just a little protection. Because if you can imagine, even at 30 miles an hour, you get hit by a car, it's not going to feel good. And obviously, I don't want a car to hit a tree, but a tree is better than a human being. But here they've got absolutely nothing. So it's like they have they have a bike path, but I mean zero protection. So you know how many people, and I've been guilty of it. You're texting, and I know I'm not supposed to, but you're texting and driving, and one mistake, you hit someone. God forbid it's a kid. But I'm glad that they at least have that bike path in here. There's not going to be much in train. I mean, you're going to have the bus system. I'm going to be doing. I'll have to do like because there's just so much info. I'll have to do like a transit-oriented live stream. My next one, folks, is going to be Utah. Just if you're curious, I'm going to talk about Utah. So these top 10 where I love to do them. This is why I'm doing it in a live stream. Sorry if it's a little bit scattered, but I have more time to just kind of talk about it and get conversations going versus trying to do it, in a weekly video. So just looking here at the comments. Okay. All right. So it's good. So, I mean, at least they have this bike path. So this is Germantown. So unemployment was 3.1%. This is February, Bureau of Labor Statistics, BLS. I already gave you the growth percentage in a couple of these neighborhoods. So next we're going to talk about Phoenix. So let's go to Phoenix. Let me stop sharing. I'm going to... Okay. Oh. There we go. Yep, definitely, David. And before we talk about Phoenix, so what I'm going to be doing, the kind of announcement is, and I mentioned it in the beginning, I'm going to be doing 2 lives a week. Yeah, pray for me. I just decided it's something I want to test. I'd love to get feedback from the community. You great urban enthusiasts. What kind of topics you'd like me to discuss? I've got about I believe I got like 5 or 6 or so kind of topics that I'm going to flesh out. They may be these top 10 type. They may be just about a city. They may be all about trending. I just found out in in Philly and in unfortunately in Chicago, there may be potential transit cuts, which is just horrible. Now, I fully admit, full disclosure, I don't use the transit as much being in real estate. I know David can attest. We need to drive around. I do know of a couple of realtors that actually used Spot Hero, which is interesting. I guess I can see that, right? Gone are the days where we're really driving clients around. Some people still do that, but I know in Chicago we don't. But I unfortunately need the car, right? But for the longest time, 25 years, I relied on the transit, and now there could be potential cuts. It's something I just learned about, so definitely I'm going to do a little research, and we're going to have to talk about that because that's just brutal. And to be, as the kids say, to be 100, it really affects the POC, people of color. Obviously, don't want to be political here or necessarily speak to that. I'm saying specifically in transit, right? I'm not talking about housing. I'm talking about transit. It's very, very unfortunate because and not just POCs, but disenfranchised people or lower income folks. They really rely on transit. So it's can be potentially heartbreaking if these cuts come in there. And I do understand the other side. People have just been taxed to death. Where's the money coming from? And of course, there's not any federal funding. This is why I need to do a little more research. I don't know if that's the Trump administration pulling funding, if it happens to be political, because there was this whole big infrastructure. Biden had an infrastructure bill that passed that was getting, however you feel about that his politics, at least there was billions going to many of these cities to help with transit. Exactly the stuff I talk about. And it's really going to suck if a lot of that funding, and this potentially could just be the start. So stuff I got to do a little bit more research. I just found that out, but it's something I wanted to mention. But I'm going to do 2 live streams. Sorry, I'm jumping all around. I'm going to be doing those 2 live streams. I'm really excited about that. There you go, right? Exactly. And this is not just transit. Excellent point, David. Excellent point. How it works in Chicago, it's a CTA, Chicago Transit Authority, that controls the bus and the train. It's all under an umbrella. And bus lines, I know they're going to be doing more express lines, I found out, but lines were just because of budget. And, I know just because I live in Chicago, I know a lot about it. It's just always cuts, but then they're always increasing the taxes. So it's a very difficult subject, but yeah, I mean, a lot of people, and we're in an economy where we could already be in a recession, but people are going to have to need that public transit to get to their work even more.
So let's hope. I'm going to keep my fingers crossed, but we'll talk about that a little bit more in a future live stream. Let's talk about Phoenix. I talked about Phoenix. I got some angry comments on Phoenix talking just about their urbanism. As this guy, I had to remove the comment. It was, I know David gonna he's had some crazy comment. The guy just wrote a novel just saying that I don't know what I'm talking about and we don't need transit and I love my car, blah blah blah, freedoms. Which yes, right? But we're not going to have. We need to be able to conserve resources, and so I would love everyone that continue to have 3 and 4 and 5 cars. It's just not logical. And so where it's viable in these big cities, there at least has to have some robust transit options. There really should be no reason. In every European city, it's there. So I thought that was interesting. So Phoenix is trying. Tucson, I talked about cul-de-sac in Tempe. Tempe, not Tucson. Tempe, where the Arizona State University is, they've got actually one of the first car-free living. Yes, car-free. There are like rental options, and of course, people Uber and Lyft, but there's no cars in the community, which I found interesting. It's relatively new, so I want to kind of wait 6 months and kind of go back and kind of see how things are going. But they're pretty close to 100% occupancy last I checked. And now that's great for Tempe, and Tempe does have a light rail to Phoenix. But outside of that, right, just like in all these explosive growth and in the Phoenixes, and like you have Chandler, and you got several kind of micro areas around there, Gilbert, a lot of these places were like the first time buyer home boom, and jobs followed, right? And jobs are galore. Like the unemployment rate. So I had it in the past at 3.5. It's actually now 4.1, but you also understand that everything is relative. I mean, Phoenix population went from 4.2 million in 2010 to 4.86. It's saying now 5. It's probably closing in on 6, if not higher than that. But again, 2023 numbers. So it's relative, right? So that's 4.1 is amazing. They have the semiconductor industry that's coming there. Explosive growth, low unemployment. I guess the irony is there's no water, and for the semiconductors, they need water. So I don't know where they're going to get the water for that, but good for them. There we go. Oh yeah, I mean I haven't even touched on that. That's another where I could probably talk an hour on the expense. And again, it's just like I don't want anyone to think I'm demonizing cars. Like I said, I have a car. I have full disclosures. I would be a hypocrite if I didn't disclose that. Of course, I have a car. I try to walk where I can, and car fills in. And of course, you living in the rural areas, you have to have the car. The bus is not reliable, so I get it. But in these large concentrations, it just not make sense to make cuts. You have millions. We have 2.7 so million just in the city, but people live in the city and they take the commuter lines. And I'm talking about Chicago, 9 million people. And we have it with the commuter rails called the Metro, where you can literally go to just about every suburb. Now you have to live by that station. And that's been a challenge because you have huge parking lots. And what happens, right? People are moving farther and farther and farther, still taking their car to the parking lot, but at least they're using the train to go to their work. So little sidebar there, but you're absolutely right. Yeah, the expenses are outrageous. So Tempe has that. A couple of areas, downtown and Roosevelt Road, but I really wanted to talk because Phoenix is just still like a suburb, a big suburb, and don't bother walking. You could almost literally kill yourself. They're just not really good. They're getting better, but that Tempe area is really good. And of course, if you go to Old Town in like Scottsdale and the party areas, I haven't been. The scenery seems to be good. Separate conversation, but obviously there's walkable areas there, club scene, whatnot. But the main transit there is like Tempe and that light rail, and hopefully they will also expand that out. So that's Phoenix. Before we get to our next city, it's going to be Dallas. We're going to talk about several Texas cities. I have a quick message for you. So if you can bear with me, a quick message for you. You may want to relocate to one of these wonderful cities. So, um, you know, I have connected like David, who's given me so much great support. He's a wonderful agent in Omaha. I've got a great relationship with him if you're moving to Omaha, but I have so many other realtors throughout the nation that can help you if you're thinking about not only relocating, but relocating to an urban area. So I want to
Hold up a second. Most of you aren't just watching me for my pretty face, right?
I'm not just a pretty face. So
You want to learn about cities, specifically in the urban setting, and eventually you want to be able to relocate. You're a professional, maybe you have a new relationship, newly engaged, etc. So you want to know where to live in a specific city. So, nothing compares to, of course, local expertise. So this is why I've partnered with agents in multiple urban relocation cities throughout the nation. What do you need to do? The first step you need to do is you need to complete the really quick relocation with AD referral questionnaire. It's 4 or 5 questions. Most importantly, folks, in that questionnaire is scheduling time with me. I want to understand your wants and needs, and then I want to connect you with that professional realtor in the area of your choice. Or you may not know where to live, and so I can kind of guide you on some suggestions. It's really quick, takes 5 minutes of your time, probably less, and we can have a quick conversation, and so you can get on with your life and relocate to the location of your choice. Now let's go on with the rest of the video.
So basically, that it was a QR code. I'm going to throw it up there really quick. A QR code to fill out a couple of questions. Here we go. So if you see right there, boop. If you take your phone, hopefully you're watching on a TV. Of course, if you're watching on your phone, I will have a link before we end the live stream. If you click on that, I literally have this. I've actually reduced it down. I've got some feedback from folks. I've got a coach. David knows who the coach is. I've streamlined it for you. First, last name, email, phone number, maybe a couple sentences, right, on what you want to achieve. And then we can have a conversation and kind of go from there. And so I hope you fill it out if that's where you're at. And it could be even a year away. Fill that out, and I'm happy to help. So now we are going to go to Dallas. Dallas. So Dallas had 6.39 million, and they moved to 7.45, with the latest being 8 million. That could be, again, a lot higher. Unemployment at 3.9. Some of the neighborhoods in Dallas is Uptown and Bishop's Arts District. They have something called the DART, and Dallas and Texas as a whole is interesting. I just found out they shot down. Unfortunately, they shot down. It's just unbelievable. They shot down expansion. They were going to have, high-speed rail connecting to what DART is, their Dallas Regional Transit. So you could take the high-speed rail, and I want to say it was, going from Houston to Dallas, and it was like what they have in Japan, to 200 miles an hour. And last I heard, it was shot down. I know California had one where they said it was going to be 20 billion, and that ballooned at 40 billion. So there were cost overruns, but that would have just been tremendous. Because speaking of, dead zones, Texas is massive, and so having that rail would have been a godsend. Can you imagine how many people would go there? I believe there's definitely demand. So I'm going to watch that closely, and hopefully they will add back the high speed. But that's really unfortunate. But at least in that Dallas metro, they do have what's called the DART. This came in here at number, it would be number 7 is Dallas. And next is, let me see. Yeah, David saying here, Oh yeah, huge. Yep, the park and ride. People can drive from the outer suburbs and park and ride the bus. Yep, yeah, yeah. No, which is great. Which is great. It's you it's you can't have everybody living right next to that train. So of course, now you have to get there early in those park and rides because they get so filled up, and then that also goes to us Americans having that need to have more. And you a lot of times you have to have at least two cars. You have to, particularly if it's both partners are working. But then people are having 3 and 4 cars, and then those lots fill up, and then they got to build more lots. So yeah, Dallas is big. And I imagine what's going to happen in the next 10, 15 years. Like right now, I want to say it's what, New York, LA, Chicago, Houston. I have to imagine that, Houston's going to take over Chicago, and Dallas will take, it will probably end up being like Chicago going to like 5 or 6. And then like Austin, Dallas, and Houston will all be in the top 10. It's pretty crazy. But we're losing people. I love my town, but we're losing people. Just our taxes are too darn high. So, but I can talk about that forever. Hate those taxes. Who loves them, right? Death and taxes. So next is San Antonio. I'm just going to kind of rattle off 4% unemployment. River, what is the River Walk? I don't see much urbanism, and I haven't really focused on San Antonio because a lot of folks, because the real estate was very, very attractive in the pandemic, they're out in the burbs, so they're getting their nice, fancy new homes. Not a McMansion or anything like that, but there's not much of an infrastructure for urbanism. The metro went from 2.15 to 2.51. It's 2.7. I imagine it's over 3. And there are areas, Pearl District and King William. So if you wanted to throw that in there in the Google, check those out. They have some bike infrastructure and of course thriving food scene. And of course that I imagine, I keep saying boardwalk, Riverwalk is fun. I think I know the there's a video conference. So I know I'm really big into video, as you've noticed. In the other platforms and in YouTube. And I think there's a conference in San Antonio. David, you can correct me if I'm wrong. I wish I could make that, but it's definitely a growing city. So, okay. Let me see. Where are we at? Next one is interesting. It's Florida, which walking is great. And the weather is great, but outside of like Miami, Orlando, they have that Bright Line, which is almost kind of like a Amtrak with some local connectivity, which I think is really interesting. And there's some hope there because the population is just exploding. But outside of that, this is growing. Unemployment 4.1. You have to be in the downtown. And that's what the majority of cities, folks, just kind of an FYI. You really got to be close to the downtown. But, downtowns, Chicago, it's literally dead. So that's why people kind of expand out. And then you hope that you have some transit options to come back into downtown. But you have to live close to that downtown in order to experience that, have that urbanism, walking, and then be able the ability to take your bike. If you're anywhere outside of that, you're talking 34. It just doesn't make any sense. But they mention here Rosemary District and downtown. This is in Sarasota. Has that pedestrian-friendly atmosphere and walkable communities. So it's more of like a quality of life. We're always going to have a great quality of life in Florida, right? Versus transit. And so after that, so that was number 5. 5, 4, 2. Yeah. Number 4, which is supposed to be 5, but like I said, I removed Raleigh, is Houston. I just mentioned Houston, really growing leaps and bounds. And Houston, in a way, is similar, like population-wise, to Chicago, but they just never really developed I mean, our transit system is 100 years old. That's a blessing and a curse. I mean, we've had the infrastructure, but it's a curse because we don't have money to maintain it, right? And so they are building some light rail, and they're getting there, but they also have a really, really good economy. Now, the unemployment was one of the highest in this list, 4.5. But again, right, being the fourth biggest city, which is definitely going to overtake Chicago, it's huge. So everything is relative, right? So on a relative basis, that's really nothing. And as far as numbers here, 5.95 to 6.98. And then currently they're sitting at 7.51, but I got to imagine that's over 8 million because I know Chicago is, well, that's Metro. Yeah, these are Metros. So yeah, Chicago Metro is probably like 9.5. So that's got to be well over 8. So that's number 4, Houston. Charlotte, again, more of quality of life versus transit. There's also not much where you can really expand in Charlotte. A lot of history. One of the lower unemployment, 3.6. And numbers wise, 667,000 to 791. And now they're somewhere around 849, probably over 900,000. They focused, in my research, downtown Charlotte. Again, one of those downtown, if we really want to get some great urbanism, some density. Still a lot of these homes in these areas, folks, from the housing perspective, we're talking like single family homes. Unless you're closer to the downtown, then you can get your lofts, you can get your condos. I didn't really want to expand out on housing. I'll definitely be doing that. Yeah, definitely did, and it was a little bit lower, and that's February 2025. I find it curious. I don't know why they don't have BLS, that is Bureau of Labor Statistics. I don't know why they don't have March yet, unless I may, in my research, I may have hit the wrong number, but February's fairly recent, and I'm assuming Marches will come soon. Yeah, that's a really, really good, just because, David, they have so many Houston's. I mean, it's got so many different, it's not just oil and gas. They were, but now they got biotech there. You've got like Rice Universities is amazing. University of Houston, they got a good talent pool, universities to pull from, and really thriving. It's a huge city center, along with all the suburbs. A lot of folks move there. Sugar Land, I know, is really popular. That's more of a suburb where a lot of people are moving, good schools. So now Orlando. So Orlando actually now would be, so Charlotte was 3. Orlando is going to be 2. Number 2. Orlando, I it's not really saying much. Orlando will probably be number 1. It's just massive. Someone I don't really recommend people leaving and not now, but leaving other creators. I want you to watch my stuff, but someone who's really doing Orlando great is Ken Pozak. They could have watch it, David. Watch it, right? I'm gonna drink to that. I'm gonna drink to that. I hope I'm not the only one who's drinking. I hope not, but I'm definitely gonna drink to that. That's a good one. But Orlando, no, Ken Pozak, he runs a team in Orlando. He's got it's called the Orlando Reel. Really, probably one of the best kind of creators. He's got a media company. If you ever want to learn about Orlando, and that's who I would send. If you looking to move to Orlando, that's someone I definitely refer you to his team. But Orlando, it just soared. So it was 2.14 to 2.56. Now they're saying 2.82, but again, this is 2023 data, because alongside the 10-year census, they have what's called the ACS, American Community something. I forgot what the S stand for, on a yearly basis. So it's like comes out in September of the following year or something, and it's based on like the whole year. They had the 2023 number, and so 2024's data should be coming, I believe, in September 2025. But that's 2.82 in 2023. It's got to be well over 3 million. Winter Park, Thornton Park. They're just now building out transit. As I mentioned, that Bright Line. There is a couple of local lines that can get you to downtown Orlando. And that will connect with kind of like an Amtrak-esque. It's not Amtrak; it's a private line. Will connect with that Bright Line, which is part of Florida, state of Florida. So, you know, and in these neighborhoods, you do have obviously the food scene. You have the green spaces. There is that walkability. Um, but majority of folks are getting those large. I was really surprised on the real estate. I mean, multi-million-dollar homes, actual single family homes. So density really isn't there yet, just like with a lot of these cities. But Orlando is that place to watch. And if they can add that transit, they have built in. I mean, employment. I mean, the unemployment numbers I have here, 3.6, and that seems high, but 3.6 is. I mean, I thought it'd be a little bit lower, but the numbers I have 3.6. You always have Disney there. They're really diversifying, so that's a city to watch. Remember, this is growth rates. This is not like large, so they never reach the New Yorks and the Chicago's and the LA's, but on a growth perspective basis, they're just really hot. Excuse me. And okay, we're coming up. 51 minutes. So again, if anyone has joined in, please let me know where you're from. Let me know where you're from. I'm wondering if there's anyone internationally. And my name, if you don't know, I do have it here, right? Yeah. Anantioris, AD. AD was just a long story. Old friend. He's unfortunately passed away, gave me that moniker. It's not really thought provoking, but there was another AD, and I was AD number 2. And sometimes my name is difficult to pronounce for some folks for some reason. I don't know. And then AD just came about. So feel free, as long as you're not calling me an a-hole, you can call me everything else except an a-hole, hopefully. But I prefer AD. I am a Chicago realtor, and I have a nationwide channel. So that's today's topic was top 10. And before we get to number 1, again, I want to remind you right here, if you look in the upper right corner, it looks small, but if you expand out your screen, if you're on a TV screen, if you scan that, folks, that will take you to a quick Google form. It is a referral questionnaire. I want you to keep watching as long as possible. Obviously, you're not ready to do any type of transaction. I totally understand. But you or you may have friends that want that relocation. And not only that, you appreciate urbanism like I do. And you may even have stronger feelings of urbanism. So I'm hoping week over week, month over month, to provide you some options where to go. And some like in Orlando that you never thought about, Winter Park and Thornton Park. Maybe it doesn't have the transit yet, but it could get there. So maybe you have that opportunity to move to Orlando. You don't want to sacrifice urbanism, but they have it just enough, and it's always growing. Well, I can find you a realtor in Orlando area or Charleston or Houston, etc. Connect you with one, so you're in good hands. I vet them, and if I can't find you someone after we have a consult, right, I'm happy to connect you with another realtor. And it doesn't matter about any type of referral. Just so you know, right, there's a referral component between the agents. You don't have to pay, but I don't need anything. The end of the day is I want to be come here from a point of service. That's part of what my fiduciary responsibility to everyone, which I'm very passionate about, and I know David is too. Oh, I see a comment here. Another corner. I don't know what the other corner is. I don't know what that means. So, anyways, click that, scan that QR code. I will have a link here. If you go to any of my videos, also there is the link. But let me get you. Sorry, let me get you. 1 second. There is the direct link. The other corner. Oh, maybe when I pointed, does it look like it goes the other corner? It's in the upper right hand corner. You'll see it right in the corner. You'll see the QR code there. So, oh, it is. It's showing on my screen that it's where my relocation with AD sign is. So that's interesting. Okay, maybe it just flips, but you see it. It's in the upper one of the corners. Go ahead and click on that, and I would love to help you. So number one here, drum roll. We're coming up here in about an hour. Austin for growth. Now I'm hearing it's going in the opposite direction, but the pandemic boom, people were not messing around. I think they had a crazy amount of billionaires there, which I don't think. I know David's a billionaire. But yeah, Austin went from 1.7 million to 2.1, and they have a recent estimate of 2.47 as of 2023. Unemployment 3.5. Thank you, David. Thank you. People are going to think I'm paying you. I'm not paying David. Okay, I promise you, I'm not paying David. But I'm going to just keep going, even if I'm talking to myself. I want to be able to. I feel this is underserved. These are underserved topics, and I'm learning just a ton. Climate and transit. Before we talk about Austin, real quick, climate and transit and John JPEG. Those are two Instagram. They also have YouTube, but those guys, they know their stuff. I'm learning a lot from them. They talk about urban topics, and I hope I can get it to half of their knowledge. So, yeah. So no, I appreciate that. I appreciate the kind words, David. Tech jobs, of course, they got a cultural arts there, many urban neighborhoods. Now the problem is it's creeping up in the $700,000-$800,000 for condos. So that's kind of the challenge of getting affordability. You're probably, if you're going to Austin, just based upon depending on what type of job you're getting, you may have to rent initially before you buy. But East Austin and South Congress are a couple of communities to look at. And when I do like housing related, I'll get more granular. I'll pull up Redfin, and we can talk about specific housing. But maybe, I don't think I'm there yet. That is interesting. I'm definitely going to get you mentioned like an urban planner. I'm definitely going to actually my old roommate. UIC, it's University of Illinois at Chicago. It's not the one in Champaign. They have a really good urban planning program. He's an urban planner. Now he went into real estate, but he has an urban planning background. I'm thinking about asking him to join and talking about some urban planning. Of course, David and I are going to be doing a video. I'm really excited about. Omaha is just exploding. A lot of stuff I didn't realize. So I'm gonna have to. You're a busy guy, I know, David. So we'll have to get that on the schedule. And I also plan to have a lot of the realtors that I'll be partnering with, in case you want to, that I'll hopefully be referring to all you great people. I'm gonna have on them on my live streams, just so we can really get. They're the experts. They're the neighborhood experts, right? I'm kind of just bringing light to a lot of these neighborhoods, but they're the ones that really know where you should be living. Just like if someone asked me about a lot of the Chicago neighborhoods, I would know. So so Austin was number one. So this was the top 10 metros. It's probably going to change, and this will be something I'll do on a yearly basis. Great. What happened to Sam? I think Sam disappeared. Did Sam really exist, or? Cheers, everybody. I'm going to wait a couple more minutes if people have any questions. Next is going to Sam. Hey. So, Sam, where do you live? Or if you don't want to tell me, that's fine. I'm just curious. Or are you really okay? I don't know if you guys are. I'm assuming so, or maybe you're not. I don't know. So, Maybe you live in the Omaha too. Yeah, but I'm going to stick around here for a couple of minutes. Okay. Okay. But stick around here for a couple of minutes on if you have any questions. I'm still doing, just so you know, right? While I'm really pushing heavy on the national stuff, I'm not going anywhere. I've been here, just a little quick background. It's coming up on 30 years. I went to undergrad here in Chicago. Unless I meet the, you know, uh, uh, unless, Sydney Sweeney wants to marry me. Oh, okay, cool. If Sydney Sweeney wants to marry me, I'll go wherever she goes. I know she's recently single, I heard, but that's probably not going to happen. So I'm going to be staying in Chicago. So I'll be talking about some urban elements of Chicago, but it's mainly around here. But just so you know, if you have anyone that wants to move to Chicago, of course, I also have another separate questionnaire, very similar to that. You can just reach out to me. My email, I'll post my email here. It's the best way to get a hold of me. I still do work primarily on the seller side. Like I have a listing coming up here in the suburbs of all places that I'm actually doing video and photography for that tomorrow. But I live in Lakeview. I've lived in a lot of, which is very close to the lake here in the city, right? A lot of people say they're in Chicago, but they're in like Naperville, like a suburb. No, I've lived and breathed in Chicago, Wicker Park, Lincoln Park, Lakeview, a lot of the popular cities. So I am happy to help in Chicago. But yeah, couple more minutes here. What other questions, if any? Is anybody having a drink, or is it just me? I've been really curious about the Utah. I as far as days to, I'm thinking about Tuesdays and Fridays. I don't know what people feel about that, but that may flip. So for right now, the next one right now should be on Tuesday, being Utah, but that is subject to change. The best way is I'm going to try to be posting more in the community section. Any particular area, people from Chicago moving and relocating. Well, there's always a subset of people that actually do intra moves, meaning like from one neighborhood to another. Outside of that, the natural progression, Sam, is they'll go city to the suburbs just because, they have in their mind they want to expand their family. And they just can't see themselves doing that. And it doesn't necessarily have to do, there's obviously single family homes, beautiful homes in Chicago. A lot has to do with schooling. While there's great school system in the city, there, for example, like I'm out here in Naperville, just happen to be in Naperville, and their school system is excellent. And so that's where a lot of people are. Like Naperville just got rated one of the top suburbs in the nation. And then outside of that, large people going to Texas, going to Austin, Dallas, Florida, like Cape Coral is huge for the retirees. Because a lot of families they're fed up with the taxes. They can't deal with it, escalating taxes, and they, not realizing that it's the grass is not always greener. You can go to Florida. I know they don't have any income tax. Is that what it is? Or state tax, one of those. But then their taxes are increasing and their home prices are increasing. So, I don't know. I don't know if that answers your question, Sam, but like Florida, Arizona, Texas, within the state, they're going to the burbs. They just are. So I have a lot of conversations with clients. I try to help them. Because I have elderly parents, and kind of two birds, one stone. I can take care of them and support. Like for this listing, for example, I took because I'm in Naperville. So the surrounding areas around Naperville, a lot of folks they go up to the northern suburbs, they go to the northwestern suburbs, Schaumburg, where the Bears may go, Arlington Heights. If the Bears do move there, wow, Arlington Heights is just going to explode, because I mean, there would be a multi-billion-dollar stadium. There'll be all the entertainment around there, and then all around there, housing is gonna skyrocket. So if people are hedging their bets and they already have homes in Arlington Heights, or want to do an Airbnb, that'd be a place to go. And then like I said, outside of that, the Texas is the Florida, Arizona. Awesome. And then I think David said, "And what would be one must do thing to do when finishing?" So, all right. I wish we don't have much more time, but good question, David. Now, obviously, the obvious question is the bean, but that's just old garbage. I want people to explore, which is a perfect tie into urbanism, explore the neighborhoods. If I had the knowledge that I have now, and let's say in my 18-year-old self, I would just explore the neighborhoods. Unfortunate thing with Chicago is people just focus in on the downtown or adjacent to it, but like they don't go to like the South Loop, they don't go up to like my neighborhood, or they don't go west because they hear all these horror stories, right? I'm not going to get into it, the horror stories, the C word, crime, right? But there's so much to explore because there's just so much diversity in food, diversity in people. It's not like again, I have a bias, but it's just not like anything you can see outside of like a New York or an LA. You may go to one area where predominantly like, Korean cuisine to like Vietnamese cuisine to Serbian. I just found out Serbia, I lived here for 30 years, Sam and David. 30 years I lived here, and I found out Serbia has a pretty large population, like one of the largest outside, because of that Denver Nuggets guy. He said something. He talked to someone, and someone spoke Serbian when he was playing the Bulls. I didn't even know that. And like, it has the biggest Polish population. There's some like high-end Polish places outside of Warsaw, huge, of course, Mexican population. So that's what I would recommend. Again, right, I'm a little passionate about that, being here for so long. I wish people would do that. And I get it, right? You want a lot of the hotels are down there, but there's actually a lot of boutique hotels opening up in the neighborhoods, where people can go. So I hope both of you guys visit, and that's definitely what I would recommend. Okay. Dude, I don't know who. Hi, girl. I'm a guy. So great question, Sam and David. Okay, I'm going to wrap up here. This was top 10 fastest metros. Next will be Utah, and the best way to get notified is I'll put it on in the community section. I'll post it. There'll be a link that I'll schedule it in my streaming software. It'll be on my Insta and on my Facebook. But that will be next. Thanks, guys. I have none, my friend. Nothing. Okay, guys. Take care. Till next time.